Today's show is brought to you by Mickeyverse Travels. So contact Mickeyverse Travels today. What do you do with your ears when it's raining in the park? The answer is Ponch Ear, the first internationally patented poncho that is designed to protect and display your headgear in the rain without ever having to remove them. Ponch Ear features a patented hood with extended visor to add additional coverage to protect your face. Find them online on your favorite social media or at their website, ponchear.co today. Get comfortable. Welcome in, everybody, to the Galactic Council. I am your Galactic Emperor here, Dave, and I want to go ahead and address something because we ended a stream earlier today, and I appreciate all of the outpouring and concern. We're going to go ahead and tell you guys because we're not sure what's going to happen over the next couple of days. Jen lost her grandmother, so we apologize, but obviously I think everyone understands what happened, and I'm fading in and out. I almost feel like I'm a holographic projection. It's pretty cool. I'm not in my normal studio, so I have the virtual background up. But everybody, I just wanted to let you know, and thank you for reaching out and asking. I knew I was going to be on shortly so that I could address it with everyone. But that's what's happening. And with that, let me say hello to Gene and Allison and 1970 and Patty Puddles in the house. Steve, Our Castle Life, Walking with the Woods. Larry's in the green room. He's also in our chat. What's up, Larry? Dwayne's in here. And Ben, welcome in, everybody. Thanks for joining us again for another episode of the Book of Mandalorian. The Book of Boba Fett. So we're going to be bringing in the Galactic Council right now so that we can get to session, go over what was, in fact, the best episode yet. Why? Because I figured out how to fix the Book of Boba Fett. You bring in Mandalorian. That's how we do this. So with that, and without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and introduce the council and bring them in one at a time like we always do. From Our Castle Life, if you are not watching them on YouTube, that is a mistake. Get over and check them out on YouTube and Instagram. We have Darth Larry.
Hello, everybody.
Who's incognito.
Yeah.
Welcome in, Darth Larry.
Yeah. There we go.
So,
right over there. Yeah.
I see a cat.
Yeah, Darth Larry, it's the rule of two, correct?
You gotta have Darth Valak with you.
Darth Valak right here by my side. Yeah.
Absolutely. What's up, Hawk the Fan? Sam Eagle, welcome in. And Lisa, hello. So welcome in, everybody. Welcome Larry into the stream, everybody. Say hi. And obviously you can find Larry on Our Castle Life on YouTube and Instagram. We're going to roll the next person in. We're going to go ahead and bring in Grand Moff. Babu's freaking podcast, Marc Valentine.
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
How about well done? Can you bring me something well done with like bacon?
I dated a Jawa once. Very furry. Very furry.
You got to pull. Never mind. I'm not going to go there.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me, as always, as a part of the Galactic Council. I missed you guys.
We missed you, man.
Yeah, we missed you. Yeah.
I was hanging out with Wolverine on Broadway. I had to. So we've been like waiting 2 years to see Hugh Jackman on Broadway. We never even thought it was going to happen. So when they came back, this was like promised to my wife. And I'm going to admit, I really wanted to see him too. So we went to go see Hugh Jackman in The Music Man. It was so good.
So I have to tell you, I love the movie The Showman. It's one of my favorite things in the world. Bella and I watch it all the time. We absolutely love it. I use it in Instagram stories all the time. I use the music. So, but yeah, no, that was a good time. We missed you. As a matter of fact, once we bring everybody in, we're going to kind of reminisce for 5 seconds about what happened last week, because I personally think it was some of the best television I've ever seen in my entire life. It was absolutely hilarious. So, and with that, we're going to go ahead and welcome in a blank screen, because we don't know what this man is doing. I can't tell. It ought to be really interesting. He was with us last week. He is with us again today. It is Jedi Master DC. Welcome in.
Look at him go.
What's better than one lightsaber? Two.
Definitely.
It looks like Grievous.
Yeah.
Jeff Grievous in the house.
Hello, everyone.
Jeff Grievous.
I can bring you in hot, or I can bring you in cold.
Can you bring us in pieces?
I can split you down the middle, too, filet style. What's up, everybody? Mandolorian up in here.
Nice.
What's happening at
Perfect.
DC's in the house, everybody?
That's an
Now-
entry.
Now he's got to refocus. Focus.
Oh, yeah, baby.
There we go.
How y'all living?
We're doing good. He's got the
Good,
shirt,
good.
the helmet. He's got
Like,
the Spartan locks coming out the
Dude.
bottom.
bro DeLorean up in here. For real. You thought I was a Jedi? No, man. I'm all about that bro DeLorean lifestyle. But, yo, I'm harshing on this helmet, so I got to go off.
Nice.
What's up, everybody?
Hey.
I love,
Well,
I
Nice.
love how the helmet muffles.
Man, it is no kidding underneath there. It is warmth.
I was going to say, because you got all of a sudden your microphone got real hot. So all of a sudden you got
Literally hot. Well, hey, welcome in, Council. Thanks for having me in tonight. Great to see you. Marc, great to have you back. I missed you last week. And also for our next esteemed guest, it's good to have you back as well.
Speaking of our next guest, who, by the way, was here last week, who joined us via helmet. It was the big head and dark helmet all in one. So with that, we are going to bring in our last council member, who is never last, Sith Lord Crew.
There he is.
Welcome in, Sith Lord Crew.
Hold on a second.
Really
I'm
here.
here. That helmet's hot.
Yeah,
Crew's
right?
really here this week, everybody.
Nice.
Missed you guys last week. Thank you for the laughs.
So for those of you
Our
who were
pleasure.
not here last week, Crew joined us via helmet cam.
Oh,
Looked a lot like that. Now, what most of you don't know is after the episode, and I'm not sure even if the Galactic Council knows this, but after the episode, Crew's wife reached out to us and was a little perturbed that her husband was not where he said he was supposed to be. She even believed he was on camera.
so it
So-
was called work. That's where I was at.
He was at work, and because we were down 2 council members last week, I did a joke and I put Crew's head on a pillow next to me, and we convinced his wife that a non-talking helmet on a pillow was her husband. So
I
kudos
almost
to
lost on my helmet.
Yeah. So I could tell you guys the rest of the story, but it's way funnier if we tell you off camera. So with that, everybody, welcome in to another episode of the Galactic Council. We actually have something to talk about this week. Last week was kind of like we were all struggling. Liquid Death, not
Nice.
sponsored by FPE. And it should be, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
So last week was a real stink fest, but this week we have, well, I said it in the opening. How do you save Book of Boba Fett? You bring in the Mandalorian for an entire episode and let him be the Mandalorian. It was a pretty epic episode. It did not disappoint. They immediately jumped into I mean, literally, the first thing you hear is Mandalorian music. Boom, it comes in. We pick up right where he pretty much leaves off, and what you would imagine is all of a sudden he's passed off Grogu. He's now back out as a bounty hunter. He's making his way through the world. What do we see right off the bat? Well, what we kind of see right off the bat is this. I mean, there he is in all his glory. He walks through the door. Larry, take it away.
Yeah, so I thought, great opening scene. I mean, you see the silhouette of him behind those little curtain things. You can see that he's got the spear still, and he's walking through, and I'm looking for the Dark Saber. It's like, does he have it? Where is it at? Where is it at? And I think he plays it, he plays it super cool. He walks in, he commands the room, and he's like, I'm here to collect a bounty. There's no real negotiation. He's like, okay, well, if he's not here, you're here now. And I think it was just one of those great opening scenes, kind of reminiscent of like, the Darth Vader scene, like in the A New Hope, or at the end of Rogue One, kind of like Luke coming in when he picked up Grogu, just going through the hallway, taking out the droids. I thought that was just a great opening scene, and I was so happy that it happened.
Yeah.
I like the hockey puck when he turns around and goes, he's like, oh, if I see him, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Grand Moff, take us away. What'd you think of the opening scene? We have Mandalorian back. What did you say? What did you see? What do you think?
Well, first of all, to speak to the puck, it was nice to know that that Mando did not discriminate against the Klatooinian. They all don't look the same. He could differentiate. He knew he had his man.
Yep.
The Klatooinian fight in the freezer was the absolute perfect way to bring him back in. I knew that the minute that I saw that it was like a slaughterhouse, I knew that it was going to get messy. And seeing him wield the Dark Saber, there were two things that I thought. One, just how ruthless he is and was before he met Grogu. And now that he doesn't have Grogu again, he's kind of gone back. You just said he went back to being a bounty hunter. He went back to being a cold-blooded killer. He doesn't have the kid around, and he makes very short work of all of them. And when he walks out and says, there's a pile of money in there, I have no claim to it. Like, I'll either kill you all or you guys can go get rich, but those are your two options. And they looked at him like, how is this this is a win-win. You don't kill us and we get to go steal all that money. Great. It was cool. It just reminded you of what I think we've been wanting from Boba Fett. We want to see more of this in Boba Fett. And that's why we love Mando is, he's lovable and he does have morals and he has scruples to him. But when need be, he can chop a dude in half and cut off his head and put it in a bag and deliver it, when the job calls for it. And we have not yet had a chance to see that from Boba. I don't want to go and say we're not going to get that. There's a very good chance we will, but we have not yet. And that's a really fair critique.
Yeah, I agree.
That's
DC, what did you see different than anybody else saw so far? Because I know we're all going to agree on a lot of the things with Mandalorian or Book of Mandalorian or Boba Fett's Book of Mandalorian. What did you see? Anything different in the scene other than what Marc has kind of gone through?
Well, I think it gives a nice contrast to what the bounty hunter lifestyle is all about and what Boba Fett is trying to get away from, essentially. And
good point.
Aside from that strong contrast, I think from a storytelling perspective, we've been discussing all season long how violent the Book of Boba Fett has been. Well, this scene took all that violence and turned it on its head and said, you want to see violence? Here is aggressive violence. And I think it was thrown into our face for the first time, showing how, for lack of a better term, dangerous that world is and how vicious it can be. And also, like others had said, now we have Mando without Grogu, so his moral compass is back to just kicking tail and taking, well, not names, but taking bounties.
He's taking all kinds of stuff, that's for sure.
Yeah. When he cut the guy in half, I was,
come on, that was epic.
Yeah.
That was one of the coolest things, because when he lands on the table, I'm like, oh no, he isn't. And he up it goes like John Belushi playing back on Saturday Night Live, and down comes that blade. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I didn't get my horse head in the bed moment, but hey, I'll take this over anything.
Yeah. Crew, bring us home on the scene.
So a couple of things you see is the Dark Saber. He's clumsy, right? He cuts himself. He's
point.
not necessarily he's not trained with this Dark Saber, and we see in other scenes which we'll get to. But I agree with everyone on the panel here. The only thing that I have to say is Disney Plus. This is probably one of the darker scenes for a Disney Plus TV show, because in The Mandalorian, the very first episode, you hear him say, "I can bring you, cold," and he carbon freezes him. Can't remember the guy's name, but on the bounty. So when he's laying on the table,
Mithril.
There you go. When he's laying on the table, I'm like, okay, this is a carbon freezing right here, and then the Dark Saber in half. So
that kind of cold.
Yeah, that you're coming in cold, and I'm taking your head too. So, pretty amazing. I had goosebumps. I think we talked, Dave, before we actually watched the episode, and I think we were texting back and forth, going, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" So really good opening to what we're being introduced to with Mando.
There was a point when you and I were texting back and forth, and I'm going, so is this like, are we getting Mandalorian like the whole episode? Or when is Boba coming? Like when you and I first started talking about it at 3 a.m., it was like,
we're going to get there. We're going to get there.
That's kind of what we all were feeling. And here's what I'll point out. Here is a guy who he's rolling in as the bounty hunter. What does he have with him? Everything he's acquired.
Yeah.
He's even got the Beskar saber. Or the spear. He's got the Dark Saber. He's got his sidearm. How many times he gets shot is just mind-blowing. And the only injury he sustained, like Crew said, is when he cut himself with the Dark Saber. And it's amazing to me that how much armament, not only just in the armor, but the actual weaponry that he's carrying with him now. Because as soon as you open this up right here, what do you see? The spear's over his shoulder, guns on his hip. You see the Dark Saber. You see all of these things all there, which we'll get to another scene in a minute when he has to take off all of it, which is really funny, by the way. But I really just wanted to point out, the fact that he's in full-out bounty hunter mode. And I like DC's thought about the fact that there's a stark contrast between what the Mandalorian is and what Boba Fett's trying to become. I think that's actually an excellent point. I think this episode had a lot of this or that's, where it was pointing out things, which we're going to get to in the next scene, I believe. So he winds up, let me make sure I got the right one. So he winds up at this point. Am I through? Yep, I went too far. Let's go back to the beginning. So he just left. He's got the head in the bag. He's rolling along. He's like, you know what? I'm going to go claim my bounty. He does his whole thing. He goes downstairs. We see the writing on the wall that only he can see, so that he knows where to go. And then it takes him in. So let's stop, because I didn't have the clipped footage from when he walks in. So he goes he basically essentially walks into where all, the normal people are, takes the elevator, goes upstairs, walks into basically a restaurant, throws the head down on the table. And let's start with Grand Moff.
Really cool. So just a little fun Easter egg. If you did not notice this, so the Ishi Tib that is at the head of the table, that's played by Helen Sadler. Most of you may know her as Rey in the Lego holiday special. She's the voice of Rey, and she voices the alien that's trying to implore him to stay and have dinner, and he wants to have none of it. I liked this world. This was unlike anything that we've seen in Star Wars. Really cool, like world building that was done here, where you get I sang the Halo theme when it started. I was like, oh,
right.
Oh. But it's really cool that you got kind of this structure that was meant to capture the sun's energy, or that star's energy, and it was a really neat design, in that it had breaks in it to create day and night for the people that were living on the ring. but like this was really cool. The manufactured world was cool. It didn't look like anything that was Star Wars, and then at the same time, I instantly accepted it as being a part of Star Wars and canon.
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff too that, and I'm gonna say this. This is where I think I have to do a little bit of self-reflection and say I'm so eager and able to accept that which was foreign and it looks like Halo, and then I gave the Power Rangers such a hard time. I have to be a little bit more forgiving and realize that every single story that we see, we're going to hopefully add new components to canon. And so I had to do a little bit of reflection and say, Mark, you were a little bit of a hypocrite. You were really like quick to kind of critique those motorbikes. And then Halo shows up on your screen and you were like, cool, I'm in.
Yep.
All right. So hold on a second. I got to defend Halo for a minute. Halo is way cooler than the Vespa gang.
It's cooler, but I attacked the Vespa gang on the premise of it's new and therefore I reject it. It doesn't
that's different.
It doesn't look like what I know. So I had to be honest with myself that Halo looks unlike anything that we've seen. Yeah. And I was instantly like, and you're right, it looked cool. But at the same point, I can't use the argument, this is out of place, therefore I don't want it. I can't. It threw that argument for me right out the window moving forward. I can't use it.
I think what Star Wars is doing is they're opening up doors for us. The only thing where I think we were fair on the Vespa gang was the fact that in Tatooine, nothing is really that color. And, I think that we weren't off base with the way that it looked per se. And let's be honest, I have a feeling in the future, we're going to see some glowing big ring in the sky and we're all just going to be like, hey, okay, that's a new planet. I think that every sci-fi is gearing us up for something like a Halo effect, but
sure.
Go ahead, Valak, and take it away. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. It's not Valak. It's Larry. Larry, take it away with what you saw, at the table, what he's asking for, what he's trying to do, and the fact that he literally walks in with a head in a bag into a restaurant.
Yeah, right. So obviously this bounty, Mando was motivated to get this done. Like he didn't offer like the carbon freeze, and we were thinking maybe you take him alive and bring him in. He was like, nope, you're not going to come in. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to do what I need to do to get this bounty done. So he does that. Returns to the boss, the guy that set him up with the job, and says, okay, now I'm done. And even she says, like, that was fast. You're a good hunter, and he's motivated to get this done. He wants the information. When she kind of like balks a little bit and says, oh, sit down, I've got another job for you. Let's talk. And he's like, no, he's business. I want this information. If you don't give it to me, I'll take it somewhere else. So I think and obviously we find out a little bit more in like what this information is, what it means to him, where it's going to lead him, and that he's trying to kind of figure out where he wants to go now, because he's by himself. He's probably trying to find out, possibly like where Grogu is, or just what's going on with everybody else. And then it just like he's motivated to get this information and then move forward. Right. He's not really just in it for the bounty just per se. He's back to the bounty hunter scene. It's kind of something specific that he wants out of this.
So DC, let's ask you this. Michael from the chat, DD98, what's up, by the way? He wants to know, did he actually claim the money? And they never actually show it, but what's your opinion?
Oh, I assume he took it, of course, because he has to have those credits because he's got to buy a new ship.
Good point. He's looking to buy the ship, which
he's a practical man. And remember, he had gotten the beacon from her saying, hey, I've got a ship for you. So, yeah, of course, I think he took payment. And I think it wasn't shown because I don't think there was a need for it to be shown.
Yeah, I agree. But just to get the thoughts, he's not taking any moral high grounds. He wasn't there just for the information. He took the credits as well.
Oh, yeah.
So what'd you see at the table? What was sitting around? Anything different from anybody else? Because we got more to unbox.
No, I really didn't take away anything different from what anyone else has said. Just that he is clearly, as we saw in the prior 2 seasons of Mandalorian, when he is focused on a goal, he is set. And little to nothing gets in the way. Minutia is not something that he's about at all.
So tell me this, because you're the one on the council that I figured would have the best kind of quip, if you would, about this. He walked into a restaurant with a head in a burlap sack. Like, nobody's really talking about the one. I keep going, so he walked into a restaurant with a burlap sack and it's got a head in it. Come on, somebody give me something with this. The guy walked into a restaurant with a burlap sack that had a head in it, and he threw it on the table while everybody's eating. Anybody?
Hey, it's a criminal underworld. What do you expect?
It's bounty hunter mode.
Yeah.
I just think it was cool. It was like one of those moments where, like where you put your feet up on somebody's desk who's got like $80 bazillion and your boots are muddy. It was like one of those moments where it was just.
Are your boots made of Beskar though?
Mine
but let's think about all the times he showed up on Navarro to meet with Grief Karga. There was little to no fanfare when he did it there. It was just. Hey.
See, but that to me is like, like it's kind of like when Han goes in and he's sitting there and, like who drew first? You're in that kind of environment. This was like a posh restaurant. Like he goes into the glass elevator. He's standing next to a sophisticate. He's got a burlap sack in his hand with a head in it and tied to his waist. And there's a sophisticate turns around and goes like this, like.
Who farted, by the way?
Like what's up? Like, you're carrying a head. So, crew, take it home with us on that scene because then we're going to roll into the next one.
I don't have much to add to it. What I would want to do is just go back just slightly with the bringing him in cold with the carbon freezing. Is DC mentioned it? He has no ship. So where's he going to put that carbon, frozen dude? And he, he doesn't have it. So we'll probably get to that here in a second. But I think he went into bounty hunter mode. No one really cared that he brought a head into a restaurant because he's in all Beskar. He's got a Dark Saber, a gun, Beskar steel staff. So people are probably looking at him going, I'm going to continue to eat my food and mind my own business.
Yeah, probably. And I like your analogy with the not having a ship. Therefore, I can put his head in a Tupperware container, throw it in my little knapsack, and take it down the road.
My bounty, right? And you turn it in, and
So I'm going to let you kick off on the next scene, but let's watch this one through. Kind of get, he walks in. He's now seeing the armorer, and they're kind of going through what happened to him. First, she fixes him. She looks at the Darth Saber. Obviously, dude's got some interest in it. She gives the backstory. They talk about, and we'll get to this in a second. Let's stop there because there was a lot to unbox coming into this. So we go all the way back to basically, like the three of them are standing there. Whoops, I went back a little too far. The three of them are standing there talking, and so he walks in. She never turns around. He falls at the end. She says 10 to him. You guys know what the scene is, so let's start off with Crew. Take us right up until the point, even when she's talking about the Dark Saber. Let's talk about that, because then we're going to get into the Day of 1,000 Tears.
Yeah, so the Dark Saber, 10,000 years old, with and you guys can help me out on the panel, Vizsla?
Pre-Vizsla.
Yeah, Pre-Vizsla, right? Who created it?
It's Pre's descendant. Pre's the one that we meet up with in Clone Wars.
Right. So this thing has been passed down by, I guess, generations, if you will. So he gets it by not killing Moff Gideon, but sending them to trial, basically. What I don't get is how Mando kind of gave his integrity. Well, he has a lot of integrity, actually, because he gives a lot up with this Dark Saber, and the descendant you see right in the middle there is actually a descendant of this Dark Saber, where Bo-Katan wanted to rule with this Dark Saber prior in the Mandalorian, I think season 2, episode 4 or 5 or something like that, where she was talking about it. So it can't be given. It has to be won in battle. And really, out of this scene, that's really all I have, because it gets into something greater in a couple minutes with just this episode.
Well, one of the things I probably was a little too vague. Like she goes through the whole idea of the Dark Saber, and she's starting to talk about it, and you start to realize that the other Mandalorian literally standing there, like you start to see the look on his face. So
he's invisible.
Well, he's the one that saved Mandalorian in one of the episodes with Grogu, right? All the Mandalorians came down and helped him out, and they lost a lot of people.
Yeah.
So that's another thing too with the Imperials, and he thanks him too. And actually, I think in a couple seconds he thanks him in this scene. Yeah. That's really all I have for that scene.
No, it's okay because we're going to break it down by segments because the next scene obviously goes into a lot of drama and it gives us that Mandalorian background, gives us Dark Saber history. This is like a crossover in the DC world. It's super important. And if you miss it and you didn't read anything or know anything, this is one of those moments you have to know. So DC kind of take us through the same thing. Like he first, he's treating him. He passes off the Dark Saber. You can literally see as he's handing it over. Mandalorian's not sitting here saying, hey, I have to hold on to this. He knows what the value of the sword is.
Right.
But he willingly passes it over to the armor, and you can clearly see the other guy looking at it going like, this is mine. I want it.
Yeah.
So take it away.
Well, because for one thing, he's of the house of Vizsla. That's Paz Vizsla. And he's thinking that's my birthright, so to speak.
Yeah.
And he's ready to take on Mando at that point right there.
His bloodline.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what this whole scene is interestingly setting up is the importance of religious ideology and how it plays into fate and prophecy. I think we're going back to that again because, prophecy is what hinges so much on Anakin.
Yeah,
we're talking about, the canon Star Wars films. So I think that's what we're being set up to kind of explore again thematically, because Boba Fett has left behind the religion of the Mandalorians, as far as we can tell. And as the Night Owls with Bo-Katan, they look at Death Watch as a bunch of fundamentalists, right? So it's interesting that we have these different Mandalorians and all of them have different holdings of their own culture and religious ideology. So I think it's going to be interesting how this plays out. I think that's what this scene was really setting up, because at the end of it, and I'm not trying to jump too far ahead, but Din basically asked the armorer, how can I get back in the good graces? Because he admits that he takes off his helmet because he is
You're ruining it.
What?
No, we're gonna get there.
He's fine.
I know, but at the end of the day, you're right in the sense that there's a whole tying together that's coming.
There's something really interesting that has to play in there with, I think, spiritual philosophy and ideology.
Yeah, because
let's face it, the Force is a mystical thing.
Yeah,
it is spirituality. It is religion. Well,
and there's what you're actually hinting at is rules, guidelines, and whether or not you have a passion to stick to them. And that's that whole dogma when she says about the creed, and which we'll get to in a minute. But yeah, you're right on point with it. And I just wanted to give you a hard time. We're going to kind of progress the scene because we don't want to unbox everything with all four of you. We're going to kind of take it down, and then if anybody has anything to add, just jump in. God bless you. By the way, everybody, Gene Fitzmagic's in the house. So
tell him to go comb his beard and go away.
Obviously, in this part of the scene, Armor turns to Mandalorian and says, that spear should never exist. Our armor is for armor. It's not for weaponry. Mm-hmm. You can kill a Mandalorian with this. She wants to remake it. She asks him a bunch of things. Let's kind of go through that closing part, and then we'll get into the Thousand Tears. So, Marc, there's a significance in this. We do not want Beskar to be a weapon, but armor. And the story that she's telling and what's going on during that time. Take it away.
Well, there was a prohibition on weapons that were made of Beskar. So Mandalorian armor can only be made from Beskar steel, and Beskar can only be obtained from Mandalore. So they didn't want the proliferation of weapons that could do them harm. And remember, Beskar steel can stand up to the greatest weapon in the galaxy, so to speak, which is a lightsaber. So the reason that they don't make offensive weapons based on Beskar is because it makes them as a warrior class vulnerable. So she's devout too. The thing that I loved, and Crew started to get into a little bit of like Mandalore 101. So the thing that was like so fascinating, like this sect, and they mentioned this, that they're actually exiled to Karlak. That if you go back and you watch the Clone Wars, we meet Pre Vizsla in exile, and he wants to go back and take over Mandalore. In the civil war that happened on Mandalore, there's two factions. There's Death Watch, and then there's you can call them the pacifists that exist under Duchess Satine. And Bo-Katan at one point is Death Watch. Pre Vizsla is Death Watch. And then when Pre gets killed by Darth Maul and the Dark Saber gets taken, then Bo-Katan all of a sudden like switches sides again. But it was so fascinating, the context of, and I never even thought of this until this episode, but you notice how the armorer, right? Think of her helmet. What's on her helmet, guys? She has horns.
Crimson Dawn.
I think she was one of the followers of Maul during the civil war that occurred on Mandalore.
Yeah.
So it's very possible that after the death of Darth Maul, this warring sect went back into exile, and they're zealots. They are religious zealots. But there was so much rich history that we also got. We got the Night of 1,000 Tears. But this is the kind of stuff that makes the Mandalorian so good, is again, it's tapping off the stuff that we know in Clone Wars, but the history of the Dark Saber, Death Watch, Mandalorian culture. I think we're going to see a lot of that in season 3. So this was like Mando 2.5. This is setting up right here what season 3 is going to be all about for us, which is him going back to Mandalore and trying to reconcile who he is now in that culture and being the de facto leader, because he has the blade, but he's not ready to wield it, so to speak. Good stuff.
Right.
So Larry, let's move to two things that are said. Obviously, we're going to get to Day of 1,000 Tears in just a second. There, by the way, Mark, good observation on the helmet. I like that with Darth Maul. That could have some legs. That would be a lot of fun if it was true. So I'm going to choose to believe that, because that would just be awesome. But let's talk a little bit about, like, when she's giving the explanation about the saber, when they're talking about this, it has to do with the right to have the saber. Like, we're going to get into that in the next segment, but we're talking about armor. We're talking about what Beskar does. We're talking about all these things. How did you see it? Did you see it any differently? And chat, if you have any theories, comments, or questions, drop them in real quick, because we'd love to talk about what you guys are seeing too.
So you're talking about what she's doing with the Beskar spear, what we're doing with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, I think it shows that, again, they're going to try to rebuild. You know, they said now we're 3. You know, there's just the 3 of them there at the moment in this, you know, in their little spot. So they're gonna try and, you know, rebuild. They're obviously talking armor, and they're going to say, you know, they're going to make armor for foundlings. You know, so again, they're going to try to rebuild their numbers, and they said that the Mandalorians have been around for 10,000 years, you know, or more. And then so it just shows that how devout they are to the beliefs and what they do, and so they're gonna try and rebuild.
So there's a lot of undertones is what we're getting at with this episode. I'm going to carry on, Larry. You're going to keep going. We're going to go into the Day of 1,000 Tears. Obviously, the armorer starts to tell, you know, what happened, why it's so important. We get a Terminator 2 scene right here where literally that's Arnold Schwarzenegger. He is blasting back in time. He's getting ready to become a T-100. The overtones of the Terminator series right there, I mean, are so
beautiful cinematography.
This is beautifully done.
Yeah.
The whole world is burning. Everybody's dead. It's an amazing scene to me. But what they're describing, Larry, go ahead with the Day of 1,000 Tears. What does it mean? How does it relate to what they're doing, kind of thing?
Well, I think this was kind of a backstory of what happened or what they believe possibly happened, because when Bo-Katan was gifted the Dark Saber, not won in battle, that it actually cursed the planet of Mandalore, the Mandalorians, because it was not passed on the way they believe it should be passed on. And so this is kind of the repercussion, or what they believe is the repercussion of that, of it not being won in battle.
So let me ask you a question. When we look at a lot of things in different movies, we always see how in order to win in battle, does that mean it's like Harry Potter, we're like doing Expelliarmus, we get the wand out of the hand, you won? Or is it you got to chop a guy in half through a desk kind of one? Like, is there a differential, or does it matter?
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's because we kind of see it both ways in this episode, I guess. Maybe
Right.
we haven't quite got to that part yet, but yeah. So I'm not sure. That's a good question, because I'm not really sure what to think at this point, because it does seem to, it kind of goes both ways. Like, yes, you defeat them, but
what is defeat, right?
yeah,
What is it? Because he gets the Dark Saber. In theory, if it's supposed to be you're supposed to defeat them in battle, does that mean that he's supposed to die? In which case, does that mean Mandalorian has the Dark Saber, not through a righteous victory? Like, we haven't been told what that is, and I thought that was just a good point for you guys to kind of theorize on, if you would. So with that, let's go.
I was going to say, I don't think so, because she stops it. Emily Swallows, the armor, stops it. Yeah. And I think at this point, I think just a win is a win. Like, a defeat is a defeat. Even in season 2, I mean, Giancarlo Stanton comes back. Moff Gideon's alive. Bo-Katan doesn't care. Like, she doesn't parse that. She looks at him and says, "You won this." Like, he didn't yield. He took it in battle. And like Giancarlo Stanton says, he's like, he's holding it, and you can see that Bo-Katan covets this item now. Yeah. I think it's just win. I don't think you have to kill somebody. And again, we see now for the second time, they kind of confirm that, because he did not need to kill Vizsla. He did not have to kill him in order to emerge victorious.
He just picked it up and walked away.
And at this point, it would seem senseless too. Like, there's been a genocide. Like, Mandalorians are gone. Like, they're wiped off of the face of the universe. Yeah. They don't want to see more Mandalorians needlessly die because of some blood feud or some quest to get this ancestral weapon.
See, and that's why I think she actually stopped it, was because she didn't want them to actually, bloodlet each other, as opposed to it's a duel, as she put it. And, do you accept this challenge, this duel? And versus it being in battle. And I just wonder if there's a difference between the two. But you guys bring absolutely epic points to it. We're about to get into the battle scene, but I want to give our last two council members a shot at, what's going on before we get into her training him, what's going on with the Dark Saber, and then the duel, because we're going to tie that all in one scene. DC, take it away.
Well, essentially, we're just being given more lore. We're given more of a deeper understanding as to the motivations of our characters. I think that's all that this was there for. I think this was there for the folks who haven't watched the Clone Wars series or haven't watched Rebels and just needed to have a little bit more of an idea about these characters that we're going to be seeing a lot more of going forward.
Okay, which is again a totally stellar point.
Yeah.
I love the Clone Wars.
I think it simply breaks down like that. I mean, I don't think there was too much more than just good storytelling, exposition, if you will.
Crew, what do you think about Terminator coming in?
It's K2S0. And what I think is, it looks pretty gnarly here that, that everyone's saying that the Terminator thing, and all that, but there actually is a good K2SO robot on a Star Wars movie. So I don't know. This is the Empire, right? Like, in culmination, they're destroying everything because they want full control of the galaxy. That's been known since episode 3, as we meet the Empire, Palpatine, right? And every race and every humanity, every ethnicity in Star Wars, everything involved, the Empire is going to take it over, and to include Mandalore, and that's what they did. They didn't care. That's how I saw the scene. Like the Empire, you see all the bombers just flown in, and at the time, I don't know what the, I guess, episode even would be Clone Wars or one of the movies for the canon movies, but I don't know what episode it would be, but they are definitely destructive and want to rule the galaxy. That's really,
well, they want that Beskar.
Yeah, the Beskar for sure. Like that's what they want, right? Because also we see in Mando, they're paying in Beskar bricks, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, they're mining it, if you will. But it was interesting scene, if you will.
So, Mike, DD98, I'm not exactly sure what you're asking, but he's asking it's the same in Rogue One,
K2.
right?
He's asking about the droid. It's a K2 unit. It's not. Yeah, it's a K2. It's a K2 droid from the Empire. Yeah.
Perfect. So, well, and I'm glad you guys can clear it up. And that's why the council is here, so that you guys can ask questions. You have 4 experts. I'm a guy who loves Star Wars. I just love pushing buttons and asking questions so that they can answer them for you. So, guys, make sure you jump in, ask questions. That's what they're going to be here to answer whatever you guys want to go with. So moving down the road, the next part of the scene obviously is real simple. There's a training, if you will. She's showing him how to use the Dark Saber. He's having issues with it. He's struggling with it. And then, we'll get into we're going to go straight into the duel anyway, because it happens immediately after. Dude realizes, hey, you know what? There's an opportunity here. I'm going to jump on this, and then they duel. And obviously you guys should be able to talk about the whole scene. DC, start us off with training a little bit with the armor. Take us all the way to the end of the scene.
Well, I thought it was really interesting that we get to see a little bit of understanding why he was so unwieldy with it when he was in the butcher shop, when he was collecting the bounty at the start of the episode. Because apparently when you use this sword, it fights against you. So at first I thought, okay, maybe it's because you have to use the Force to be able to wield it properly, right?
I agree.
But then I was like, well, did that mean that Moff Gideon was a Force user as well?
He's probably sensitive, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what it led me down to think, okay, is that going to be like the reason why that Mando is unable to wield it going forward? And I think that when he goes and finds Grogu and talks to Luke, I think that might be revealed at that point, because as we see when Paz Vizsla takes the Dark Saber for a moment, he's unable to wield it as well, even though it's a birthright for him. He's part of the Vizsla lineage, if you will. And he was unable to wield it just as much.
It's a good point. Good observation.
Yeah. So
could I piggyback really quick before we get?
Sure.
So, you guys are DC. You're like 100%. I think you're 100% on the right track. So,
right.
Just to the council too. And if anyone wants to jump in on this, remember, Jedi trained for years before they handled the lightsaber. That younglings were not given lightsabers immediately. That the younglings that you see have gone through the rite of passage. They've had to build their own lightsaber in order to wield it, and they still then have to train and reach out through the Force. Luke is uber force sensitive. He's the kid of one of the most force sensitive Jedi in the history of the Jedi Order, which is why he's able to do it immediately. Same thing with Rey. She's a Palpatine, one of the greatest Sith users. It comes natural to them. They are very force sensitive. But these Mandalorians are not. They were enemies of the Jedi. They don't have any force sensitivity. So it's heavy to them because they cannot reach out through the Force in order to control the weapon. It's not literally heavy. They don't have the sensitivities to be able to feel out and reach out with their Force capabilities and do this.
Right.
This weapon here, and again, anyone wants to jump in, this weapon that I'm holding on my shoulder is going to go back. Here's a prediction. This weapon is going to go back to Sabine Wren, who we know is cast in the Ahsoka series. She's in the Mandoverse. She's trained with this weapon. The training was the exact, like the language, the words that were used, the language was Kanan Jarrus said those exact words that the armor said. Kanan said that to Sabine Wren when he trained her to use the Darksaber, which she wields in Rebels. So this weapon, if I had to predict, is going to go back to someone who can do so and is a Mandalorian by birthright and wants the weapon. I am predicting that this weapon, if not in season 3, in season 4, is going to go back to Sabine Wren.
Now, what I find interesting that you said was because she did use the words, you have to feel it. You have to feel through it. You're fighting it. You need to feel.
Don't fight it. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's an interesting point. Larry, what you got?
Well, I think we learned in that back and forth there between Mando and the armor is that Tar Vizsla, who created the Darksaber, if I'm correct, was a Mandalorian, right? And a Jedi. Yeah. So there's definitely some, what we're talking about here with this, reaching out or some sort of force sensitivity to be able to wield this Darksaber efficiently or effectively. There's definitely going to have to be some sort of crossover with, someone giving Mando some training on the Force to be able, like I said, to be able to wield this Darksaber effectively.
And I think that the armor was basically repeating what she had heard as far as how to handle the Darksaber, and she did not necessarily know what it meant to feel and to reach out and to not fight against the Darksaber. I think that it was literally she had heard that being said, or maybe read it in a manuscript somewhere, and is just regurgitating it rather than actually training as someone who understands how to actually wield the Darksaber.
But Mando doesn't want it too, guys. He doesn't want the Darksaber. And that's why I think that this thing is just, he's a placeholder and he's going to hold it for somebody for a time being. I realize it has to be won in battle, but don't forget, Sabine Wren didn't win it. She was given it too. So,
but also I think that Mando recognizes it as being one heck of a weapon.
Oh, he does, definitely. Yeah. But I don't think he wants the responsibility that comes with it.
Okay. Yeah.
He's so willingly to get, he's so willing to give up the weapon. So I think he saw the power of it. But I mean, he immediately, as soon as, because he follows that, that religion, if you will, he immediately passed it over. Mm-hmm. So there's something to that as well, Mark. But Crew, you're a resident saber guy. So go ahead, take us through the Darksaber, take us through the scene, what you see as he's battling and learning, and then the duel itself.
Just first and foremost, though, the hilt is made of Beskar that they've never seen before, right? So I would say that when this was built, I mean, 10,000 years ago, whatever it was, it is probably in the deepest mines of Mandalore, where this saber was built for Larry said it.
Tar Vizsla.
Yeah, Tar Vizsla. So it's a pretty special lightsaber, if you will, that is for Mandalore only. And when we see this fight scene, I agree with everyone on the panel that there is some type of force-sensitive person that has to wield this, or it has to be won in battle, in legitimate battle, because Mando did not defeat Moff Gideon. He put him on trial. He sent him away. So he didn't kill him to get the Darksaber. And that's one of the things that the armor asks him. Did you kill him? And that's the same thing that Paz Vizsla asked. Like, did you kill him? No, I didn't. He'll stand trial. So that might be something else too, that if it's actually won in battle correctly, that maybe the hilt, maybe the saber itself talks to the person that actually will get the saber, and
that's kind of what I was getting at before. And I think you're onto something. So keep going down that road.
I mean, so I'm watching the scene right now, right? So he's struggling with it, and then he's just having trouble. You can see he's having trouble with it in general. Paz Vizsla gets it. He's having trouble. They're not winning in battle. The armor stops the battle right about here. It's enough. It's a duel. We're not killing Mandalores. And I want to stop here because I'm probably going to foreshadow and go further with that scene and what happens with Dark Jin like himself.
Well, I think because what essentially what I got out of the scene, and I try to always go last just so you guys get your points in. One of the things that I like that there's and I'm looking for the comparison, by the way, because it's not actually there. Because we're watching the Book of Boba Fett and we have the Mandalorian who's just been ousted, if you will. I feel almost like there's something going on with tribal unions. You've got the Tusken Raiders. We showed that aspect. We showed he's trying to build his own by bringing in Fennec, by letting people go, by ruling without doing through power. And then what do you have? You have the Mandalorian getting cast out. There's something about what they're trying to say has to do with tribalism, about being together, because what did they say? We are now three. They immediately sit there and say, you took your helmet off, you're gone. And he's like, no. What do I got to do? And now we're going to see the trials and tribulations again to get back in. And I think there's something to
piggyback to Mark's point, though.
Sure.
I do think that he might be a placeholder at the same time with the Dark Saber. Yeah. I really do. Because he's not he's still in bounty hunter mode at this point without Grogu.
The armor also sees folly in the pacifist ways of the people that were killed, Dave. That they only survived because they were exiled on Karlak. They would have been a part of the genocide. Their way of life, the way, like this is the way.
Is the way.
The reason that this is the way is because that way is what saved them.
Sure.
That's why they don't take the helmet off. They never get out of warrior mode. Like I was talking to someone about this. They're like, dude, why don't they take their helmet off? They think that taking your helmet off, previously used to take his helmet off. Now that this has happened, if we are not warriors 24/7, 365, we will die. This is the way for us to survive, is to never be vulnerable, to never take that helmet off and expose any part of our bodies that can be vulnerable to an attack. So that's what that is. That religious fanaticism coming from her is survival instinct. Like through and through. So the fact that he's weakening the clan by starting to soften on these rules and these codes, that's why he's got to be expelled.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah. No doubt. And that's what I'm kind of getting at is you have two extreme de facto groups. You have the 10,000 years Mandalorian, and then you have however many thousands of years Tusken Raider, and they both have those exact same ideologies of we do things a certain way. You even saw it when he was sitting inside the mud hut, and they're like, we're not technologically advanced. He goes, but I'm bringing it to you. What happens? Their demise. Yeah. Okay, so there are some things here where you're starting to see we're able to look back and kind of go, oh, well, maybe they're trying to do some things like that. And they may not be. It just may be that we're sitting around having fun, which is okay too, which is going to bring us into the segment here, which is we get to see some of the old characters. We get to go back in. He's looking for his ship. She tricks him, gets him there, says, no, it's not a razor. It's a replacement for. We get to go ahead and look at the fact that, for all we know, that's the ship that Anakin flew when he was a kid.
Right.
They kind of almost imply it, and it's like, it's kind of a cool scene. They go through, what's he do? He takes it out for the old-fashioned test spin, meets up with the X-Wings, and, he's having some fun. Here is literally a pod racing scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're back to Anakin right there.
Beggar's Canyon.
Yes, we're in Beggar's Canyon. We're having fun with that. He's out in space now. So I'm going to let you guys kind of watch this, and then Larry, kick us off with, because we'll get to Fennec at the end, because we don't want you yet, Fennec. Yeah. So take us through some of the fun stuff of what actually happened, because then I'm going to bring up something funny to kind of wrap it up with.
Yeah, sure. So this is a great return scene for Mando coming back to Tatooine. Like I said, there's a lot of Easter eggs, a lot of, stuff shouting back to like some of the other Star Wars movies and stuff like that. So, we see the reveal of the Naboo starfighter here. That really is reminiscent of a pod racer. Like even when it was underneath the tarps or whatever, it kind of looked like, okay, you can see kind of these two bigger engines towards the front, kind of, and really slender and stuff kind of going towards the back. And I was kind of wondering, I was watching it, I was like, what is under there? But when they reveal it, and it almost has that Mandalorian feel. If you think about his armor, you think about his Razor Crest, it kind of has even that look to me anyway, as far as what he might be looking for. But and then we like I said, we a lot of Easter eggs in this scenes. We learned kind of like what the Jawas maybe look like underneath their robes. There's a comment about I dated a Jawa, at some point, and they're really furry, and she kind of makes like this little, like kind of a rodent face, kind of like some fun stuff. You kind of understand what the Jawas maybe look like underneath their robes, and it was just like I said, great scene. They're kind of building this starfighter, like almost like it's a hot rod.
Yeah,
it's like this classic, build up a muscle car type thing, and we can learn some tricks from the Jawas, like where do they find all this stuff, on Tatooine, and they just go out and do their thing and find it. And I thought it was a great scene, and a lot of throwbacks, like I said, to all other Star Wars movies, and it was a lot of fun. I think I smiled through the whole thing. This whole episode for me was great. I think I just was like ear to ear grin. Yeah. So this was another just great sequence.
Crew,
truly.
Take us through all the fun stuff of seeing the Naboo.
So the first thing that I noticed, and just talking to a couple of my buddies, was the R5 unit. That was probably the same R5 unit that Luke had that had a bad motivator and blew up.
It is.
It right is. There, because in the back of his head, you see it's missing the panel.
Yeah.
I had some conversations with my buddies. We're just going over the episode, just having some fun. And I thought that was really cool that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni brought that in here with Star Wars lore, because Tatooine is full of robots. They're helpers, and it's funny when she's trying to fight this Womp Rat. None of these robots are like wanting to help. The other robot that's actually getting attacked by the Womp Rat is from
Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, Fallen Order.
The video game that I played. I don't know the name of it. For PS4 and PS5 or whatever it is, Xbox, with Cal Kestis. That robot you can see in the same light, he hurts his leg in like one of the very first scenes of that video game. So it's pretty cool to see that robot in this scene. To carry forward to the NG-1 that they're building, that we probably saw Anakin Skywalker in episode 1, like, R2, what am I doing? And he's shooting all the droids. I don't know if that's the same ship. It could be. She talks about how there's collectors on Tatooine and they get whatever they want. And there's a lot of stuff on Tatooine. Yeah. Larry hit the Jawas and they're furry and all that stuff. Yeah, she dated one. There is a part, though, that there's a turbo drive shaft, if you will. I did notice this in A New Hope, where when they're in the trash compactor, what are they using to stop the trash compactor?
Yeah.
That turbo shaft from an Imperial starship. So
pretty
cool that they brought everything encompassing, like just build this Razor Crest, like miniature fast ship. And then obviously they take the droid out, because what do we know about Mando?
No droids,
right? So I thought that was pretty cool. And then, cut scene right there, him lifting off. I'll probably end it there because we probably have a little more to go. And then Beggars Canyon, right? Like, that was pretty cool. Yes, the pod race. And Larry was right. Like, I thought it was a pod racer too. And I was like, well, how's going to fly a pod racer up into space? I don't know. Yeah. It was a cool scene. I love this part of the episode. It's one of my favorite parts. Building a hot rod, like with your friend.
Cool. I got to be honest with you. When I saw it under the tarp, I thought it was a pod racer too. Yeah. And when they revealed it, the first thing I sat there and I went, wow, they brought back Anakin. That was cool. And I thought the whole scene was pretty neat. DC, take us forward a little, hit what you want to hit back with what they were talking about. Come into the fact that the X-Wings pull up and there's some references here. So let's dive into that a little bit.
Well, guys, the whole scene was wizard.
Wizard.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So wizard, Annie.
Yeah.
I know. This is episode 1. I know.
Yeah.
That after the excitement and the smile that was like smashed on my face throughout that entire scene, when he came back down and literally said wizard, like little tiny tear popped out of the eye, because like that was such an amazing emotional release for me. And the whole scene was great because it was a callback to like all the 80s movies with the montage, right? And like there was a couple of scenes where I'm like, am I watching Mandalorian and Top Gun?
It's down.
Now, Crew, I know you like Top Gun growing up as a kid, right?
I know.
Oh, yeah. But, you know, a couple of scenes where they showed Mando in the cockpit as he was cutting through the canyon.
Yeah, guys.
Some of that cinematography. But as
down.
far as something happened?
We're down.
Yeah, we actually just got nailed for a copyright.
For what?
Yeah, because the clips.
I was using the clips too much.
Yeah, I was like,
Oh, shoot. Well, are we down? Or are we?
Yeah,
Hold on.
go back
Hold
up.
on 1 second.
Okay.
Now it's stream unavailable.
What
You have to
did we
actually
say?
end your stream.
Hold on.
Told you those clips were gonna get you.
I thought if I pulled the audio out, we'd be all right. Stream's unavailable.
So you
So
have to cancel the stream.
we
if you
are
wanna start
down.
Another one, or
Wow.
so I'll have to go back through and edit everything and put it back up.
oh,
Guys,
back-
what wasn't it awesome though?
Never
Like
mind.
the montage
Back up.
type feel.
You took
Yeah.
down the clip.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really good.
We're back up and good. We're good to go. Sorry about that, everybody. It was my clips in the background that were getting us in trouble. So we're going to stop using those things because YouTube said, no, you are wrong. You're a very bad man. Bad man. So with that, we'll finish out with stars in the background and have a little fun with it. DC, you were in the middle of a point when we were taken down for a minute.
Well, not exactly what I was making a point about. I was just the enthralling nature of the whole scene. It made me
We were
so
talking about
happy.
the wizard aspect and Anakin and how
The montage of DC when like
Montage.
helmet, canopy.
Yeah, the cinematography was straight up like all those 80s action flicks whenever we saw any type of flying going on. I think that they were definitely paying homage to that type of filmmaking and also taking us back to pod racing and giving us that type of perspective again. I think it was the kind of good fan service we needed. I think we needed to be shown that Mando's like us. He likes to have a good time, you know? He's not just all about business, because throughout this entire episode, you got to think it's been pretty heavy for Mando. You know, what he's been dealing with. The episode starts out, he's killing a guy. Then he's getting a bounty. Then he gets kicked out of his entire clan. So we needed this. We needed this release for Mando. We needed this whole montage of watching how Jawas make it happen. And did anybody else note how they had the exposed carburetor on the front of the Starfighter?
Yes. Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah. That's great.
I'm
And
like,
that was one of the things I wanted to talk about because it was like it looked like a 34 Ford Racer, and it was like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's
Definitely.
scooped up, and what happens? He's sitting there, he
That's
looks to both
Star
sides,
Wars supercharger, if you
Yeah.
will.
yeah.
and he pushes the NOS button, and what happens?
Well,
Gone.
one of the X-wing pilots thought that he jumped to hyperspace.
Yeah.
He's like, "How did he do that?" He's like, "No, that was his sublight engine."
Yeah.
So basically, what's happened is he goes up, he's kind of screwing around, he wants to see how it's working. He flies over a commercial liner, which we're going to get back to in a second because I just think that scene was funny. He gets pulled over by the police. They talk about license and registration. I mean, come on, like, hey, where's your tail wing? What's your number? This doesn't match. Who hasn't gone yet? Crew, have you gone on this scene yet?
On this scene, on the police scene, no. I did
Go for it.
the whole scene on the NG1.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying. The getting taken down thing threw me off for a second, so I want to make sure I had everybody covered. Did anybody not talk about the NG1 series?
No, these guys said everything already. The only thing
Yeah.
I want to add, and I'm sure these guys know this already, the sound effect, the engine failure noise,
Yeah.
As
It's
now-
classic Star Wars.
It's a classic Star Wars sound. I mean, it was an audio Easter egg that every time the Falcon's hyperdrive wouldn't kick in, or even the Falcon from Empire wouldn't start, it was that noise that was taken there. The other little fun thing that, again, you guys mentioned pod racing at least 6 or 7 times, which is so cool. The gate, which was smashed by Anakin when he went up the ramp,
That's right.
still there. The debris is still
Yeah.
actually there.
Wow.
And that was a little Easter egg that they never cleaned up, that gate for that ramp that he once launched up. So,
which is an awesome catch, by the way. And I wish I had the clip to show you.
Yeah.
wizard.
But Dave learned his lessons. Bad Dave. So, one of the things I want to kind of wrap everything up with is, we'll get to Fennec in just a second, because that obviously takes us to Book of Boba Fett. But I've got to bring this up. Whenever we think about Star Wars, we think about, like in A New Hope, what happens? Luke and Ben have to go find a pilot to get on a ship, but we always just look at it and say everyone's got ships. So Mandalorian has to go on a commercial cruiser. He walks up, the droid turns around and goes, no, you have too many weapons. And he's like, but it's a religious thing. And he's like, I don't care. So he's got to empty out. And it reminded me of like 95 different movies where, specifically in Sahara, if you guys ever saw the movie, when he starts taking off every piece of armament that he has. And it takes like 2 minutes for him to empty all his weapons. And then what does he do? He turns to the droid, looks at him and goes, I know everything that's in there. He gets on a commercial cruiser, which, by the way, looked like a big Millennium Falcon. And he has this interaction with the kid. There's a Grogu moment. There's a longing. There's a sense of conflict, if you would. So much that when he's flying later, who does he see? He sees the same kid. There's a lot that went there, but what I'm getting at is we never stop and really think about the fact that how do these people get around? We're starting to see some of the behind the scenes. It's not just the movie magic of let's jump in the Millennium Falcon and go, or in our X-Wing and go. It's the everyday person has to jump into a commercial.
Star Tours, Dave.
Yeah, but we don't ever see it in the shows themselves. And I thought this was funny, and it also brought in a reflection for him to kind of, you can see Grogu has a huge impact on him, including whatever he got from the armor that looks just like Grogu's head. So with that, DC, start us off with, he had to take a plane and fly coach.
Okay.
What'd you think? I mean, it's an everyday moment, if you would, in Star Wars.
It was a nice transition from the tension that we had just been facing as we got to see him get off world. I think it really was designed to bring us back into feeling connected to the character of Din, because we all know what it's like to put our stuff in those stupid bins before we go through security to get on the plane, for lack of
or to get into Hollywood studios.
Yeah, right. And then again, like you said, when he has the moment with the kid and he's holding the bag that has Grogu's chainmail, is what I want to assume in it.
I thought so too.
It just brings back again more humanization of Din's character, and I think that's what the whole scene of him flying commercial was designed for. It was to reconnect us, and to be quite honest with you guys, we really haven't had that in the Book of Boba Fett with Boba Fett's character. We haven't had that human connection like in the same way. Like the amount of emotion that I felt in the scene where he's holding Grogu's chainmail, and it's the bag's in the shape of little Grogu's head. It got me here in the heart. Whereas I think that's something that's almost been missing from the Book of Boba Fett thus far. I mean, we might get it in the last 2 episodes, but it's like I told you guys a couple episodes back when his Tusken Raider clan was wiped out. It's like, here we are. He's starting from zero again. And it's like, I think we almost lost that emotional attachment that Boba Fett was building with the Tusken Raider clan. I think we lost that because it just shows how easily it's been, a year since we saw Din and Grogu together. But yet just that little moment of him being on a commercial airliner, seeing a kid in front of him, and then looking at a little bag. And I don't know about you guys, but I got a little bit choked up.
Well, that's the point. Is I wanted to show the humanization in that moment of having to get on a commercial flight like everybody else.
Yeah.
Here's a bounty hunter. Like he literally just hopped on a JetBlue, and it's like we're now going to do our thing. And well, not everybody flies what you fly, and so it really just was one of those moments. And there's a humanization where he is reconnecting, he's remembering, he's doing those things. Hey, Flyboy, take us through a commercial flight.
So, I think DC hit it on the head with the initial transport, right? Like he's got a flight commercial, and he sees that kid, which is I thought would have been something, maybe an Easter egg like Garrido's kid or something like that, because there's only the mom and the child.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I won't take it that far. I would want to go back to the scene where he's dumping all of his stuff into the Pelican case. It was actually painted white.
Yeah,
because we use those at work. That actually happened to me leaving Orlando on our Disney World trip. TSA pre-check, and I had all my stuff still, and we had to empty all of our stuff into buckets. And then Heather almost lost her Pandora bracelet onto the floor of the airport.
But you look like a guy I would stop on a plane.
I know, right? So I understand what Mando's like.
I'm just saying.
I'm going to keep these things. I'm like, he's almost like TSA pre-check. Like, why do I have to? I'm not going to hurt anybody. Like, it's my religion. These are things I carry on me at all times. And the robot who looks like DJ Rex from what Marc was saying, Star Tours, without the spring in his neck, says, nope, you will put these in a Pelican case and you will grab a ticket.
And you can talk to my manager.
Yeah,
fly tomorrow.
It was actually kind of humanizing, if you will, because he doesn't have the Razor Crest, and he's going on a human transport with other people that, like you said, Dave, have to transport around the galaxy. I thought it was a pretty cool scene.
I thought it was just one of those moments where it was just like, how did it start? It starts, he walks in here. He walks in, he's wielding a saber, he's cutting people in half. Where do they break to? He's got a fly coach. Like, I'm sorry. There is just, to me, I absolutely lost it during the scene. I'm like, this is the moment when you know that they're just going, hey, wouldn't it be great if we put Mandalorian on, like, I don't know, like a commercial flyer? Wouldn't it be great? Like, they're just having fun. Larry, what did you think of the whole thing? Just because it's a funny thing. It's a humanizing moment.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it was a good scene. We've all been, getting on an airplane. You got to take your shoes off, take everything out of your pockets, go through the metal detector, all that kind of thing. So yeah, it was one of those scenes that everybody can kind of relate with, and then, like, again, it gives you that more personal, humanization type feel for Mando when he's that
Oh, am I still there?
Now you are.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Oh my gosh.
Did Larry fly commercial?
It wouldn't be the Book of Boba Fett if we didn't have the streak go down and lose hearing and microphone capabilities. We like technical difficulties. It makes us feel good. I feel like I'm doing my first live stream, like back to That's exactly what this is like. Every stream we had something go wrong. So, Larry, can you hear us?
Okay. I think I'm back.
Larry's
you
back
guys hear
with
me?
us.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Sorry about that.
Larry went old school cable back in the green room, and he just went old school tin cup with a string.
Yeah, having some technical issues here.
Hey, it's FTE. So, we stand for technical difficulty. So
you're right. Sorry, I can't remember what I was saying.
That's okay. We're going to move on.
Okay.
Marc, later. You're going to coach.
Take us home on the commercial flight, Because after that, we're going to wrap up with Fennec and then wrap up the show.
It shows you that when you don't have a Razor Crest, that you have to resort to flying commercial in the Star Wars universe. We've seen the R3 droid now a few times, and to me, that was very much a wink and a nod to Star Tours, quite literally. That you had the original pilot of Star Tours, R3, kind of frisking him and making him go through security, but it was a humanizing moment as well for Mando to realize he's down on his luck and he's got Grogu on the mind, and him staring at the little satchel with the mithril armor that he's made for Grogu. It made you realize like that this guy's like lost a lot. I mean, he's like a little sad puppy dog right now. He's trying to run down bounties to kind of fill that hole in his heart, but it can only be filled with that little beautiful green 5 pound, 6 ounce baby Grogu. I don't know if that's how much Grogu weighs.
Nice Talladega Nights
Marc,
reference.
you are literally killing me right now. That was fantastic, by the way. So let's take it right to the end now, because let's give final thoughts. We're going to go. Fennec shows up. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let you guys do it, and then wrap it up with. We got about 2 minutes each, because then we're going to try and get out. So go about 2 minutes. Fennec, what do we see next week? Let's start with Larry.
Okay, so when Fennec shows up and she says, "Hey, you're looking for a job," and Mando's like, "Well, what's the bounty?" And Fennec says, "No, it's something for Boba Fett," and she throws him some money. And immediately once he realizes for Boba Fett, he's like, "It's on the house."
Yep.
Throws it back to her. It's like, it's one of those, you don't need to pay me for this. So I think that's going to be a great, meeting up between, the Mandalorian and Boba Fett. But, he says, before he can do that, he has, somewhere he needs to go. And, of course, they need more muscle. So, I mean, there's always, for me, the possibility that who comes back when Din Djarin, when he goes to see Grogu, who comes back with him? Does, where is Luke at this point? Obviously, and who's with Luke at this point, possibly. So there's some really exciting possibilities there to see what happens in the next few episodes, but it's going to be good. Whatever it is, it's going to be good.
Sounds good. So let's move it over to Babu's freaking podcast. Take it away for our ending. You see Fennec, you know what's coming next. Tell us what's going into next week.
Yeah.
Your 2 minutes, go.
I mean, what do I want to see? Of course, I'd like to see Baby Grogu in the next episode, but I don't think they're going to give us that. I think they're just teasing him to know that he's back. I think that they in essence are setting up what we're going to get in season 3 of The Mandalorian. Yep. It would be really weird to have a show called The Book of Boba Fett and then for 2 consecutive episodes spend a tremendous amount of time away from the main character of the show. This next episode is going to be them preparing for war or them getting into war, and then Mando is going to come in as part of that in the finale. That you're going to get the Mandalorian coming in with the Dark Saber and Boba Fett riding a Rancor into battle. And I cannot wait. I'm here for it. But this next episode
brought the Rancor back. I'm so proud of you. I wanted someone to do that and be like, he's going to ride the Rancor back into battle. So absolutely. You don't put that out there and give life to that thought unless you're going to make that the payoff. Yeah. The finale will be them fighting the Pikes, and then they will soft introduce Crimson Dawn and Kira, and they will they're going to announce after the credits Book of Boba Fett season 2. DC, 2 minutes, same thing. Rocket.
Marc literally said everything that I thought.
That was the quickest 2 minutes DC's ever had. Like, Crew.
That's exactly what I was thinking. The only thing that I think could stray from that is if we didn't see Mando come back this season. That's the only differentiation I could see.
You may not. You may not, dude. I think you're right. You may not.
This could be the next 2 episodes could be leading up to the culmination of the final battle of some type of thing that's going to, I think, open up chapter 2, or excuse me, Book of Boba Fett chapter 2. I think that's another way it could potentially go.
Okay.
But back to the show that we just saw. Can we not say that was probably the freshest and coolest that Fennec has been all season long? Like that was a character of Fennec that I liked from the Book of Mandalorian. Excuse me, from Mandalorian.
That's kind of my point, though, is she seems like 2 different characters. Yeah. And that's what I was saying for the last 4 episodes.
Her swagger, her attitude, the way she carried herself, she was cool, she was light. She was like, hey, I'm just hanging out with you, Mando, because I think that she looked at him as a contemporary, because she's looking at him as like, this guy's a grade A #1 assassin type. So you're my boy type of thing when she was talking to Mando, as opposed to Boba, where I think she's basically felt like she's had to handhold him essentially the whole time that she's been with him, which is kind of the truth if you look at it. She's been his trusted advisor. But what's that?
That's what we were talking about last week.
Yeah. It's been a lot of hand-holding. Whereas when she's talking to Den, it's light and it's easy. And she's like, hey, I got something for you. You down with this? You want to do this? And Den's like, who's it for? He's like, no cost, but first I got to do this. And she's like, cool, I'm out. And like I said, I really liked seeing Fennec's character like that. It reminded me of the cool Fennec Shan that we got to see briefly in Mandalorian season 2.
True. Fennec.
So I'm going to disagree with Mark. I don't think that the ending of the episode, Fennec was way cool, right? Hopping off the boxes, like, hey, you want a job? Like, man, sure, I'll do it for free because Boba. I don't foresee in like the next episode that like you're gonna see Boba riding a Rancor and then Mando's got the Dark Saber. I think it's gonna go a little slower, and I think it's all about partnership. We obviously see that for sure. They're gonna give each other a favor. They're gonna end up giving each other life debts probably throughout the next season, if you will, with whatever trouble they get into. But all in all, I think that the whole the episode as a whole was pretty wild to see no Boba for the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I was kind of astonished, even as a Star Wars fan, going, well, no Boba at all? Like, not even like Boba tea that Mando's going to drink? I mean, come on. But all in all, like I said, it was a great episode. There's going to be a partnership coming in the next week, and we shall see what happens. Like I've told you guys before, as the panel, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, Robert Rodriguez, they have a good thing going, and they brought us to this point, and I don't think they'll let us down.
Big props to Bryce Dallas Howard, who directed the episode, by the way. This is her third episode that she's done. She did 2 Mandalorian episodes and now a Book of Boba Fett. Give this woman her own series. She understands Star Wars.
Yeah. Agreed. Like you said, she's done 3 episodes in this particular bit of canon, and
wasn't Robert
crushed
Rodriguez?
it every time. Well, that's how we got introduced to the Night Owls. Yeah. That was her episode in season 2 of Mandalorian.
And then she did the ATST episode where they were defending the homestead as well.
Yeah, where we get Cara Dune's character introduced. Yeah.
Oh, back again.
So here's my point on it, and this is how we're going to kind of wrap this up tonight. I see something from the outside. You guys are the Star Wars experts. That's why you sit on the council. I am simply a guy who watches from the outside looking in, throwing whacked out theories and ideas. Here's mine. The entire Book of Boba Fett have been watching an alignment, in my opinion. You've seen something with what I call Darth Wookiee, which is obviously Chrysanthemum. We've got the Vespa gang. We have Fennec. We have Mandalorian. We're gearing up for battle, plain and simple. And what do you keep seeing? People who keep giving their services to him for free. Whether it's the Vespa gang, they're now working for him. Whether it's Chrysanthemum, he's going to come back because Boba let him go. Then you have Mandalorian saying, no, it's Boba. I'll do it for free. Fennec owes him, her life. So what do you have? You have basically a perfect team of assassins around you. What is this going to be like? This could be absolutely unbelievable with the final scene being almost like Avenger-like, where it's like the 5 or 6 of them standing on a line and they're getting ready to go into season 2. Like, we could see something absolutely epic. You also have 2 variables, one being Han Solo, the other one being Luke. They're both floating around. He has made a mention to Grogu. He has made a mention to going and finding him. It could just be that they're misdirecting and having a little bit of fun. But wouldn't it be great if in the final minute and a half, like they did in Mandalorian, all of a sudden Luke or Han or one of our favorites shows up in the background into something? But I'm going to tell you right now, 5 assassins, something to be said. There's something there. And with that, we're going to wrap up the Book of Boba Fett this week in a total hypothetical, because why not? We're doing cliffhangers. And basically, I want to thank you guys again for another great week. This was a great episode. A lot to talk about. It was fun having all 5 of you back. Not like last week where we had Crew the Helmet. Looked a lot like that. Crew, you're never going to live that down. And Larry took over for you. I just want to tell everybody that Larry played the part of Crew. And DC, you were a great ventriloquist. So we really appreciate that you guys doing that. And I want to say, if you're not paying attention to Larry over at Our Castle Life, if you are not seeing Marc over on this Life for Babu's Frickin' Podcast on Sunday, if you're not paying attention to Sith Lord Krewitup, as he is a Star Wars aficionado, get over to him on Instagram. And last but not least, DC and Michelle Do. Get over to their channel on YouTube and Instagram. Support all of these great people. Don't just go over and hit the subscribe button. Make sure that you go over, give them a watch, give them a like. They're doing some great content. Marc just put out a couple of videos that I got to be honest with you, if you're not watching it over on his channel, it's a huge mistake. They were great videos. They're 3 minutes. They're fantastic. Get over there, support his channel, support DC with blocking and talking, and always Our Castle Life, putting out some of the craziest fun stuff in the world, especially when Valec's involved.
Yeah.
And if anybody doesn't know who I'm talking about, that's Valec. I mean, come on. Cats are famous. They're famous. So anyway, I'd like to say thank you to everybody for every single thing that you guys do. Thanks for bringing it week after week. There's Valec. And I just want to say thank you guys for everything that you do. It's been a tremendous episode again. So for Larry, on Marc, and DC, and this is your crazy emperor saying, we'll see you guys next week, and may the force be with you. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
I can't find it. There it is.
We are the Florida Park Explorers.
We explore the parks 5 to 6 days a week with great live streams and vlogs. We cover everything from rides and food to magic and fun and fireworks. So come join us on our adventures as we take you through
the Disney parks and more.
And check out our all-new channel, the FPE Network. And thanks for watching.
specifically when I text out my